right, so to this point, I'm almost done with the empennage kit. I'm probably 80% complete, getting ready to start on the tail cone actually. I've got the vertical stabilizer, the rudder, the horizontal stabilizer, the right elevator, and most of, about 95-99% of the left elevator is complete. The only thing I'm really waiting on to finish the elevators is a cable or wire label maker. I'm using heat shrink and a label maker to be able to put the heat shrink onto the cables to identify for the cable identification. And then after that, I'm going to Lowe's tomorrow to pick up a bench vise. That way I can put the pin for the piano hinge for the trim tab into the vise and make the bends that way to make sure that they're nice and straight. After that, it's a matter of putting the pin for the connector arm for the motor to the trim tab, putting that in there, and then I will essentially be complete with the elevators, with the exception of the fairings on the tips. So the next phase is starting on the tail cone, section 10. My understanding is it starts out with separating a lot of the pieces, cutting them from a long piece will be cut into several sections according to the designs and the plans. But once you get past the prep stuff, then it actually seems to go by pretty quickly. So this is February 28th, the last day of February. I started this project around Halloween of 2017. It's now February 28th of 2018. And I've probably got about a month's worth of work left. I think that with the exception of just being busy because a lot of family has been visiting and whatnot, I will probably be done by the end of March, if not somewhere in the middle of April. So a full 6, almost 7 months faster than what I've anticipated. I thought it would take me an entire year. In reality, it's taken me about 5 months, really, 5, maybe 6 months to put this together. So my next project will be the wings, and those are about an 8-week lead time for those. So I'm probably actually going to go ahead and order those here. That way I kind of minimize the gap in between finishing the empennage kit and starting the wings kit. Been kind of debating on where I'm going to store all of the tail cone stuff. More than likely I'm just going to store it in my front room, the living room. It's empty. I got plenty of space for it, and it'll make a great conversation piece if nothing else. So that's where I'm at. I'm actually pretty excited to be able to start on the tail cone so quickly. So we'll get started.
And so with that begins the build of the tail cone. Welcome back, everybody. This is the first video of the tail cone build. I'm in the process of starting with all the little pieces that have to be manufactured. There's several that you have to cut out, making the rudder stops. There's a couple long pieces that you cut into sections for different size longerons that go along the bottom skin and whatnot as stiffeners, basically. And so you just go through and you separate them. It's a little tedious. There's a bit of work to it, especially trying to get the correct angles on the rudder stops and marking everything correctly and all that kind of thing. It's just a little bit of attention to detail and making sure that you're marking correctly and taking into account where the center line of your cut should be on your mark. One of the things that the instructions talks to, I believe in the beginning portions, is using a permanent marker to make all your markings. And it recommends getting one of the slim tip type markers and not your standard tip width on your permanent marker. And I haven't gotten one. I have the standard style, and I can see now where it would help because it makes a pretty wide mark using the standard permanent marker, Whereas if you had something left the size of a pen mark, it would be a lot more accurate when you're marking your angles and your cut lines and things like that. So I'm probably going to go out and pick one up, and I would recommend that you do as well if you haven't already. So anyway, so here I am just cutting some of the pieces, again, getting everything ready. And where I am as I am editing this video is not too much ahead of what I'm doing in this video itself. I've taken the last week and a half off for spring break vacation with my kids, and we decided to go up to Oregon and go see some snow up in the mountains. Went up to Sisters, Oregon, and got to see a lot of good countryside, nice, relaxing, great area. If you haven't been there, I'd recommend the Cascades to anybody. So anyway, we got back day before yesterday, and I've been working my 12-hour day shifts over the weekend now, but trying to sneak into the garage to do a little work every bit that I can. So where I'm at right now as I'm editing this video is I've started putting the frame and attaching it to the bottom skin, and riveted the majority of that together before I left on vacation. And so also while doing these portions and getting all the preparatory work done, probably in the next video or the video after that, I work on one of the frames that supports the rudder, the tail end of the aft end of the rudder. And I messed it up, and I'll discuss it when I get into that video. But I have since gotten that part and am now redoing it and getting that part caught back up. Because I moved on and started working on the other frames and the other bulkheads and whatnot. So it wasn't a stopping point. It's not like I couldn't go forward by messing that part up and waiting for the parts to come in from Vance. So I went ahead and worked on beyond that, and now that I've gotten those parts in, I get to go back and redo it. So here you see me. I'm taking the longer piece and cutting it into 3 parts, and these will become the stiffeners for the bottom skin. And it's not much different than anything else that you've cut down to size, in that it's just a matter of cutting down the shaded areas, and then I use the grinder to grind the edges flat or straight again, get rid of the little edges that are left when you cut the shaded parts. But other than that, just going through and getting everything ready for building the frame, which should be the next video. So again, for those that continue to watch these videos, I appreciate it. This one's a little bit shorter. It's just more of an update on where I am and to show the beginning stages of the tailcone work. So we'll see you next time.